There, now we're popped up live. Good morning. Good morning. Well, it's good afternoon for you, Raul. Where you at exactly? Where you? What city are you in?
Good afternoon, Mark. I am in Silver Spring, Maryland.
So you're in Maryland. I didn't write that down when we were on show notes. I want to write that down. Make sure I have that. How is it out there? Is the weather good?
Weather's pretty good today, and for a lot of people, I add a little bit to that Silver Spring part, and I say I'm about 10 minutes away from a fellow leader. Both of us know, Mr. Jose Escobar. Uh,
So you're close to him then.
Very close,
Oh, okay.
very close. I'd say about 10 minutes, more or less.
So do you guys work out together and do that kind of stuff?
We haven't worked out together, but I'm sure that does come in our 75 hard
I'm
journey.
gonna get him when I get out there in January.
Yeah.
We're gonna hook up, and I'm gonna take him and Emilio, and we're gonna get down and dirty on that mat, and we're gonna do a
Okay.
little bit of martial arts, and we're gonna see what's up.
That'd be
Because
fantastic.
I'm the old guy out of the group, so I want to see how these young bucks do. So I'm looking forward to it. You know what I mean? So
I don't
that's
know if
for
we can
sure.
keep up with you. Yeah.
Uh, All right. So this is let me introduce you real quick, and then I'm going to let you go ahead and and give a little bit, interject yourself a little bit. Now we got where you're at, and this is Raul, and your last name is pronounced Marin. Is that correct? Or
There's so many variations. I usually like to go with the route of Marine.
Marine, like a Marine?
Marine, yeah.
Okay, got it.
Just,
Okay,
just
good,
minus the
good.
E. That's just Marine.
All right. Well, it's probably one of those names that it can be several different things for sure.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
well, what I want to do is we're going to talk about kind of your author and your books and stuff like that. But I want you to just give a minute on introduce yourself to the show and what you have, if you have children, if you're married, and we'll just go from there. And then we'll get into some of the stuff that we talked about pre-show. Okay,
You got it,
so go
man.
right ahead, sir.
So thank you for having me,
Yeah.
welcome to anybody watching or listening. I
Mm.
am Raul, and I'm a jack of all trades in a very creative and professional kind of way. I'm a educator, teacher, um, DJ, photographer, poet, and and hopefully with some really good tips from Mark as well. I'll be a podcaster in the near future as well.
Yeah, we're going to
So,
speak about that.
I love to do a lot of things that help grow and inspire people to be the great people that they can be.
That's great. So we'll talk a little bit about that. I think pre-show that we talked a little bit about a podcast that's out there, and you have this built-in audience already through that Connected Leadership Academy, because you have a lot of authors in there, and then you got Emilio and stuff like that. What better way to start a podcast when you got a bunch of experts already, and then you got
Absolutely.
ones that are just like on the horizon, like myself, that's never done it before.
Yeah.
And what kind of guest that would be on? Okay, here's what I've ran into. This is the good, the bad, and the ugly of writing a book for me so far. And then
Mm,
you got all these guys that are authors already, and how to adjust your thoughts. And I think it would be a great podcast. I don't know what we call it. The author's hour, the author's podcast. You know,
yes.
you
Yes.
know how to win by writing a book, or I don't know. That's something for. But if you as you get started, I'll let you guys know how I started podcasting is, believe it or not, I just started podcasting because at first I did a lot of stuff just solo, right? So if you go back to my original podcast, I was going through a real transformation. I had lost 110 pounds, um, and then
Wow.
I had an illness and stuff, and so that's really kind of where I started it. And it was only audio. I wasn't interviewing too much yet, and then I said to myself, you know what? I think that I should have something. So when I'm gone, my kids and my grandkids and my great grandkids and the kids that I've never got to meet have some kind of legacy of what was Mark Cox like when he was alive, and what did he think, and how did he do things. And life is like, I tell everybody, life is like a 5-minute round, right, in a
Mm.
ring, and you
Mhm.
work and you work and you work, for these 5 minutes. You put in hours upon hours of working to fight for 5 minutes, and by the by you blink your eye and that 5 minutes is over, and it's the same thing with life, right?
Yes.
We have all these life experiences, and then our wisdom is here, and then all of a sudden what happens? Uh, we're we're older, and it's like, wow, where'd that 5-minute round go? That's how fast it comes. And so I've always thought that, you know what I mean? So
Yes.
I think that's how I started the podcasting, and I think you have a good idea out there, seeing as you already wrote something. So let's talk about the book that you did. You know, I talked on hand, and your book. I want to make sure that we write in notes what your book you told me is called Rise with Gratitude. Is that correct? I'm going to
Absolutely.
put that in here. I'm going to put that in notes. Let's see, Rise with Gratitude. How did actually, I'm going to spell this wrong. Yeah, yeah. I talk really good. It's the spelling that I suck at. Uh, it's Rise with. See that we have Gordon on too. He was such a
Hey,
so.
Gordon.
Yeah. So Rise with Gratitude poems. Okay, I got that out there so people can go order your book and make sure that we have it. We'll make sure that you give me links to, and I'll put that up. All right. Hey,
Oh,
Gordon. Just so Gordon knows, last time I was with him, we were talking about I was talking about I'm this disciplined machine and I can't write nothing down, and he was telling me about that. Just so you know, see this connected leader thing that I bought from here? I've used
mhm.
this one now. These are my show notes now.
Okay.
See, this is you, Raul. This is about you. And this one, the entrepreneur's book right here,
Yep.
this one is kind of a journal. So when I do jujitsu class, I write it in here, and then when I got ideas for the book, I'm doing it. So I don't talk, man, and not do. So just letting Gordon know that hey, what we talked about didn't go uh, un undisciplined. I could tell you
Mhm.
that. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So let's talk about your book, Rise with Gratitude. What made you do that? Let's go right into it, because you said writing's been something that you've loved to do ever since you were a child. Let's
Yeah.
dive right into it.
It's been a passion of mine for as long as I can remember, to put thoughts on writing, journal, poetry, and I think it's in the last 3 years that this transformation of me just really embracing writing even more in terms of like actually publishing it and
Hmm.
and taking embracing reading again as thanks to Jose's entrepreneur's bookshelf. I also did his morning and evening routine program, which was just phenomenal. um that just lit the fire in me even more, because there was one thing to just love writing, but now it's like, okay, I can take my writing up a next, take it up a next level and actually like publish something. So and the family had always encouraged me, it's like, you're the writer in the family, you got to write a book. And so it was years of just saying, I don't know who's gonna read it. I don't know if I'm really that good. But you know what? Your mind does those things.
What? Li- I'm gonna. You're 100% correct on this, Ro. I speak on this quite often. As
Yeah,
I even my own students, we are so quick to judge what we cannot do.
and
We are
yes,
very quick not to judge what we can do. So if I ask a student, hey, um, if you i- if I said, give me list 5 things that you feel that you lack in or you're not good at, man,
mm,
they'll rattle that stuff off. They'll probably give me 10.
the page. Yeah.
Right. If I say, okay, I want to know your strongest suits, what are you the best at? They can hardly come out with one, right?
Mhm.
It's isn't it a weird phenomenon how
Yeah.
we look at ourselves sometimes instead of, being that powerhouse. And I see it quite often. I still do that myself. A lot of times I'm one of these guys that I'm kind of an outrovert, but I'm an
Okay.
introvert. You know what I
Okay.
mean? I like to be on. I like to be in front of. I can be in front of thousands of people. I can teach a martial arts class. I'm in my world. But if I'm at a party, I'm kind of not the guy that's going to be looking for all the attention. I kind of like to get in a
Mm.
little circle and we'll do some. We'll do some talk on the people that I know. I'm not the party guy. That's for sure.
Yep.
So that's for sure. So when you write in poems now that sometimes I guess that's the same thing. Maybe some writers have a tendency to have a lot of stuff to say, but maybe
Yeah.
they can't get in front of the group, and so writing down is what they have. And now your first book happens to be poems, right? And so poems. Uh, the I
Mm.
guess when I first was introduced to poems,
Uh-huh.
believe it or not, was G.I. Jane. Okay, isn't
Okay.
this funny?
Okay. Yeah.
The drill sergeant there in GI Jane for the Navy SEALs,
Uh-huh.
he always was reading out of this little poetry book
Okay.
about I think the poem was something about a bird will die without ever thinking about itself. You know what I mean? It's something to that effect. And I remember it. And I'm like, so I ordered that poem book after
Okay.
that thing, and that was the first time I kind of interested. And I think that uh, poems are one of those things that are a way to show thoughts and processes in a chronological order,
Mm.
and sometimes they rhyme, sometimes they don't. Now, was it your thing to do you have rhyming poems, or how did your book look? Because I'm going to order your book today, as a matter of fact. I'll make sure I get it in there.
I'm gonna be very and I'll break this to and to anybody listening. The I'm gonna have a pre-sale date very soon because it's gonna be out in June.
Out in June. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, good.
Because I'm gonna have if at some point this week, because it's Monday, it is Monday, right? Yep.
It is Monday. Yes, sir.
At some point this week, I'm gonna have my book cover ready. So that pre-sale is coming very soon, my friend.
Okay. Well, and
Uh,
I'll be on there. And Jose said something here. I think you meant to say here, Jose. Mandy Robinson was a person who got me intrigued about poems. I am not a fan. I think you meant to say I am a fan of poetry, thanks to Mandy.
yeah,
I think is what you're trying to say there, sir. Um, and
and
so, do you have okay? Are they are they poems that you do? Are they long? Are they short? Or like you know how poems can have both of those, right? Where they're kind of long and short, correct?
mm,
So,
yeah, that's
what's
true.
what's your style of writing? What's your style of poetry?
Mine is very short, and I think particularly because when I've shared poems to my networks, Facebook, Instagram, you only have so much to fit one poem within, the little cube thing
Right.
that you share posts to. So I've basically just learned to keep poems within that cube, so that it's I try to get them to have that impact on people that as you read them that like it's powerful, but it's written with only so many words
Mm-hmm.
that I haven't been used to. Not that I don't like it, but I haven't written. I've yet to write like the really long drawn out poems yet. But I mean that could certainly be something I would look into for the next one.
So your book being what it is, give me give me some names of some of your poems here, so we can. So you have Rise with Gratitude, right? A
Yes.
poetic book. Tell me
Yeah.
about that. What is that? Where's the gratitude come from, and what you're looking for as far as that goes?
So gratitude is to me that's one of my keys to just being absolutely happy with yourself and with
Uh-huh.
life. You rise with gratitude every day that you know we're always going to have issues. We're always going to have challenges, problems, whatever. But if I don't wake up with gratitude, then I'm already setting myself up to fail.
Hmm.
You know, because
Yes, I agree with that.
that's just an absolute part of my morning routine, and Jose can talk more about how I went through his program, but and how much of a big part of his success his morning and evening routine is. But the biggest thing for me is to wake up every morning, rain or shine. I'm grateful to be alive, and I'm grateful for everything that I'm going to accomplish today.
That's
But
so that's so that is kind of the catalyst of what you kind of where you kind of went with this. Now,
yeah,
do each of your poems have their own name?
yes,
Is
I
that
do.
how it is? All right, so
Yeah.
tell me your favorite one. What's the name of your favorite poem that you've written?
Oof. Um, see,
Hard, right?
see the guy on my corner right here.
Rocky?
I wrote one inspired by him for sure.
Did you really?
I did.
Oh, see, now I'm looking. Now we spoke about this off camera before, pre-show. We talked. I saw your Rocky poster. If you
Yes.
ever look at my any of my pictures, matter of fact, I'll tack one up today in my home gym. My whole wall is Rocky. It is
Okay.
all the medals of all the Mickey and the whole thing. My all everything I have in there is him, and so I'm looking forward to that poem. Kind of what's based on from that. I'm really looking forward to that. So June it is. I guess that's when we get
It
to
is.
get to read it. And I'll tell you what, Raul, what we should do. Some of these authors that are now coming on to me, and I didn't see Andrea here. I'm sorry, Andrea, if you're on here, I missed your comment. She
Uh,
goes, I've read some of the poetry you posted lately and shared it, inspiring my students and colleagues.
there
That's
we go.
good. See, you're out there doing your thing. So I think what we need to do on some of you artists, what we should do is when the book comes out, whether we do just a 20-minute blurb or a 30-minute podcast, we'll pick and choose and we'll go through the book a little bit. We'll
Mhm.
say, okay, let's read this one. And we'll give everybody we're not going to go through the whole book, and because we want people to enjoy it and buy it and stuff like that. But what we'll do is when it comes out, Raul, we'll schedule another one. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. This podcast that you're talking about, having this author's podcast, how
Yep.
awesome for a brand new author to come on for 30
Oh,
minutes and do an interview and say, hey, this is my newest book. And then you got the connected leaders thing that you get to plug that in. You got Emilio you can plug it into, and you got this network already starting and what that looks like. So I think that you've got a good idea there, and and
oh, love it.
and looking forward. So maybe that's where we go next to get your, because I'd like to have it on there, right? Because
Yeah.
nothing like I think Emilio says it all the same time. Nobody tells your story like you will. If you don't tell it, somebody else will, and it'll
It's
never be the same. He
not gonna
says
be
this almost every time he gets on, right? And so that's true. That's
true.
100% true. And
Yes, it is.
so let's just make that happen.
Oh, yeah.
Once you guys put it out there, we'll do another podcast. I'm going to put that down on my notes, as a matter of fact.
Let's
Um,
do it, man. Oof.
After
I'm
June. Okay. Sound good? I think that'd be fun, man. I
definitely.
look forward to that. Maybe that's going to be the new thing. I'm all about listen, I'm all about real talk, and that's what I am. So when people really get to know me, man, I don't pull any punches. I mean, I wear my heart on my sleeve. I'm going to tell you exactly how I feel. And sometimes I hurt your feelings and sometimes I don't. I don't really care, but uh I look forward to this kind of stuff. I think this has been great. This has opened up a whole new, my world is the martial arts world, and
Okay.
and and I have all these guys, but having you guys on that have a different perspective in life that's not in the martial arts world, but you can see how we're kind of connected. Everybody kind of has the same drive, same kind of move forward, and so it's always, I don't know, I think it's just great. And I like talking to authors. This has been a new thing for me, so I look
Fantastic.
forward. I look forward to being on your show one day.
Oh, yes.
One of these days,
Yeah.
Jose is going to have me drinking coffee with him, and we're
Yeah.
going to get down and dirty about something. I don't know what we're going to talk about, but we're going to have a big time. You know what I mean? We're going to
For
have some
sure.
coffee, and we're going to talk. And when I'm jacked up and on caffeine, you can already see I'm jacked
Oh, yeah.
already today. Sometimes I'm a little more mellow, but I've had 2 cups of coffee driving on the freeway. I'm
Uh-huh.
just ready to go. So
How you
that's
like
great. So was that go right ahead? What you said?
how do you like your coffee, by the way?
Coffee is great. I had iced coffee today, and we have a new coffee shop down the street from us, right? It's called Games Grinds and Games. This is a unique coffee shop. When you go in there, one half is your coffee shop. The other half, you can bring board games or buy board games, and it's this whole thing where you can just kind of network and be with each other, or bring your friends and play games and stuff like that. Board games, card games, whatever that is, just old school stuff, man. I love it. You know what I mean?
Okay,
Kind of an old school guy.
love it.
So, looking forward to that. What your collections are. Make sure that I have all your stuff, dude, because I'm going to blast this book of yours, and we're going to um, do it. The other one he's talking about Carmen right here too. Now I've got to speak to her on the phone a couple times
Hmm.
with Carmen, and she's got quite a. She's,
Oh yeah.
she likes to. She when she speaks, man, it's like going to church, man. You know what I mean? So it's do you enjoy that part of your poetry too? Do you like to read it? Do you like to recite it? Or are you kind of a writer? Which one, or do you like them both?
I like them. I like both because I and who I don't wonder if she goes through the same process. Like, but when I write them, I usually write them based on a conversation that I had. I can tell you now, I'm gonna write a poem today because we've had this amazing conversation. I
Uh,
don't know what I'm gonna call it yet, but I'll have it. But I'll write one.
that's all. I can't wait, man. I'm looking forward to that. I can't. I
I
can't wait.
just I have to write it in that moment because I know what's the inspiration to write it. So once I've
Mhm.
written it, then I'll read it aloud because I want to make sure I'm hitting the right you know the right message I want to convey with it, and then I'm like, okay, sounds good written.
Yeah.
I can hear myself making making my I can hear myself talking about uh lost my train of thought here. It sounds like the way I want people to read it or speak it, if that's the way that they better receive the poetry.
I
And at
well,
that point,
and yeah, I think that, that's the one thing about poetry. I mean, it gets pretty down and dirty,
yeah,
poetry is kind of real talk, man.
yes,
This is how I feel. And so I think that it's a unique thing. I've only really been exposed, like I told you before, I was exposed to it watching GI Jane. How weird is that? But what you catch out of a show, right?
yeah, yeah,
And that's where I first saw it. But now that I've kind of been around some of you guys that do it's kind of intriguing.
hmm,
And the underlying message in poetry, anyway. When we're in school, I remember studying in literature. I was like, man, this is boring as all get out. You know what I mean? So you don't really have any appreciation for that kind of stuff. But then again, I think that goes back to coaching too, or teaching.
yes,
If you want your students to have any passion of anything, they don't have to like follow it as a passion, but it's how you present things.
oh yes,
And if it's presented properly, I think that you can have a really good you'll have a super uh, appreciation for things that maybe just doesn't spark your interest as much. But then again, I think Raul, I don't know, I'm a little older now, so things in life, when life's every day that you get up and you're fighting and dodging punches with life, and then you get caught clipped with a couple left hooks here and there.
mm,
Your thought process changes, and I'm sure your poetry changes as you get older, I would imagine, right? And life experiences change. I'm sure that it changes, correct?
it sure does.
Yeah.
You go from trying to be creative with it and maybe not have it rhyme, but kind of have it where I've written a few where the last word is the same word as the first word in the next line.
Ah,
If
mhm.
that makes sense? Like, I
Yeah.
forget what it's called, creatively speaking, but there's some that I've done like that. There's some that I've done where it's just one word starts each one because it all ties back to that central theme of what the title of the poem is.
Yeah.
There's Yeah,
I think that's awesome. I think that's awesome how you transform that. So, yeah, I'm totally looking forward to that. So, let's talk about there's a couple things. Well, let's talk about what we talked a little bit about what you do as far as this. You're a, you're an online educator,
Hmm.
and you're helping immigrants. And I guess English is something that you guys are going. Let's talk about what you do online with that. Let's let
Okay.
everybody experience that part of you.
So I do a lot of what we call boot camps for folks because they're not used to working with computers. Like I've done these virtually and in person for folks that we teach English to who are on the job site. Uh, that you can literally give them a laptop and they're just looking at you like, Mark, what is this that you're giving me? Like you got to walk me through it. Like I don't even know what I'm doing.
That's amazing,
Like
right?
that's how like how much of a need people have to learn basic computer skills in order to learn English virtually.
Yeah, that I guess that shows just how we are in America. Well, first of all, just how spoiled we are, you know, and what we have access to is that's pretty remarkable in itself.
Yeah,
So when you have we talked a little bit in kind of some of the notes that I wrote down. You know, immigrants have different reasons for learning English, correct?
right.
And uh, and maybe this is also to help guests get their citizenships, and if that's
Absolutely.
the goal that they're looking for, correct? Which is
Absolutely.
probably what most people are looking for when they're coming here.
Yep.
I mean, we are a nation of immigrants, and I'm sure that what you do. Walk me through something that uh, a typical immigrant's going to call you, and they're going to say, "Bro, we need help with this," and then
Mhm.
you're off to online. Now, you told me before that some of this stuff was like in person. You had to be in person,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And now we through the pandemic, of course, a lot of things are virtual. I mean, look what we're doing here, right? I
Mhm.
mean, if it wasn't for the pandemic to do a paradigm shift in your mind of what
Mhm.
what is the possibilities and what can happen.
Right.
It I knew this when I have a black belt of mine that named Justin. He's a missionary. We did a podcast together. His name is Justin Reese. So if you ever go back through my podcast, you look him up, Justin Reese. We did that podcast, and I'm here, and he's in the jungles of Papua New Guinea.
Wow.
And he happens to have internet service at this one location, and
Wow.
it's from Australia is how
Okay.
the satellite is. And now imagine that, right outside his door is the alligator infested river, you know, and that's where he lives, and we're doing podcasting. So I'm sure this is how has this opened up people, or do they still struggle doing stuff online because of what you said,
It's
what you've experienced?
it's still very much a struggle. I would say that less than a quarter,
Wow, less than a quarter.
less than a quarter of what an average class size is now. Less than a quarter of it actually successfully attend the class from start to finish.
Wow, so there's a huge
It's
attrition
a
rate.
huge, huge issue.
Wow. Mm.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
much.
that's
I mean, they're basically like, let me know when you're ready to do in-person things again, because until then, I'm out.
ah.
That's how it is.
So do you have that access to, or are you strictly just kind of um remote at this point?
Strictly remote because it's twofold really because just as much as students have our immigrant students have had an issue embracing technology, we also have teachers who aren't on board with the teaching that way either, and or um, they're hesitant to teach an in-person setting even if it's a hybrid class because we'll say, we can get you 3 4 students in person and everybody else will be connected online.
Well,
That's been a challenge as well.
I watch my own children
Yep.
go through college, And there's some stuff. I think somebody older, you can't do hands-on stuff. If you're going to have to do cadaver work or science work, you got to be kind of in stuff. But
Yeah.
if you're doing other stuff, I think the only problem I think sometimes with online training, I know that I'm so guilty of this. It's not even funny that as soon as they're kind of going off track on something, I got another window open on my computer looking up or answering emails or something to that effect. You're not as dialed in, I think, sometimes as what you need to be, right?
Oof.
This is what I do. I know I do this. If I'm on a call and I'm maybe I'm doing something to learn a little bit more about the front end software we use. Once I know the part that they're doing and they still got to go through it all. Matter of fact, I'm going to be on one today, right? After we're done here, 15 minutes after we're done, I've got to get on a remote call and about building the business through our Spark management program. And
Okay. Yep.
and the first half I know it. So I'll be answering emails and not paying attention the first half. I already know that's what I'm going to do.
Okay.
And so I think that's the only drawback I've seen. I think little kids, I think they have a hard time, having a kid in front of the machine all the time. But I think
Mm.
I think you're right. I think as time rolls, though, this shift is going to really take over. It's so convenient because
Mm.
now you can reach how many people can you have on
Oh,
on
we can
class?
read
It
so
doesn't
much more. Yeah.
right, and it doesn't through state lines. The only thing that's different is time zones, right? So maybe somebody's watching something a little bit later at night. I mean, when I
Yep.
was on Emilio's show, it's at whatever 7 o'clock, and I'm up at 4 a.m. to get on there to do his show. So it's only kind of a hours difference of that. So I think that's awesome. What is it called that you do? What's your online business? What is it called? Maybe
So
there's people here that like to know
uh,
that.
it's we're in this year. It's in a process of a name change
Uh,
because it's been called the excuse me. It's been called the Literacy Council of Montgomery County uh, for over 30 years, but they're transitioning. The plan this year is to transition that a name change from
mm,
and they would never even go by Literacy Council of Montgomery County. They just go by the acronym LCMC.
got it, got it. So
We want to transition that to classroom to community, C2C.
what? Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds like a good name change, as a matter of fact, right? Now,
Right.
and this you said this is a nonprofit, right? So this
No problem.
should be something that most people can jump on board. Is that right?
Absolutely.
And do you get funding from does the federal government fund you, or is it private funding?
We do and I say we because I work there, but the money stuff is the beyond my pay grade kind of thing. But we get a lot of funding from McHale is one uh, big language org that funds us. The State Department of Labor, um, they're a big funder of ours. A lot of something that comes up in a lot of conversations among the staff is that we just got another grant for you know
Oh,
so it's a lot of donations as well. There's some donations happening with events every that we do every year. So there's definitely some local, federal, private so many different ways to fund the work that we do. And you mentioned something that just stuck in my head. Maybe that's the word I'm going to name the poem when I write it. Dial.
awesome.
Because it's a very interesting question to ask people. It's like how dialed in would you be as a student? And in your case, obviously you wouldn't be learning English, but whatever it is, how dialed in or not so dialed in would you be if you know that what you're getting is really not costing you much?
Right. correct.
Versus if you're paying for it and it hurts for you to pay for it because you feel it. You feel it in your wallet.
Yeah, I
I
think
mean,
Raul, that's a whole nother conversation, right? Because I feel the same thing here. When I give martial arts lessons away, um, those students have a tendency not to be committed
mm,
because they're not committed because they're not it's not coming out of their pocket.
yep,
That's why usually when I do things and stuff like that, I like to put money out, so I feel that that's going to force me to make sure that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing as far as you follow through goes.
yep.
I think that's an awesome point. I think that's really really a good point. Which talking about follow through, I guess that can lead us right into 75 hard.
Oh
All
yeah,
right. So I saw you the other day. I was
yeah.
so
Water
I
here.
s- yeah, no man, we every all of us have that water jug and I've done 75 hard so many times and I can't. The water is
Oh,
just the
that's the
worst
hardest
thing
part.
for me. I
Oh,
hate it. I tell everybody if I could drink a gallon of coffee, it'd be awesome.
that'd
But
be good. Yeah.
the gallon of water is just it's
Oof.
so hard to do. And then this particular one, I kind of got sick like you did.
Okay.
I toughed through it. I mean, I had some weak workouts, but I still did them, right? So sometimes you're like, man, do they count or do they not? Well, what really counts is going through it, not that how good it was at that particular time. But
Right.
I had this massive headache for a few days, like just so not feeling well. And believe it or not, can you imagine for a second drinking a gallon of water and still being dehydrated? And because once,
Mm,
on this particular time, I remember one day not feeling well, and then I had kind of a brown urine, and I'm like, what the heck? At first, I thought possibly have a kidney stone. And then I kind of started doing some investigating, and that is a thing of dehydration. So I'm like, wow. So, sometimes when you're drinking water, I tell everybody this now because of what happened to me. You got to make sure you get some water, like an Arrowhead or something like that, that has some minerals in it. Because you just drinking filtered water and you don't have all the minerals, you're not getting all the benefits of water. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, I'm already drinking a gallon and it sucks. And then it's not working. I'm just like, oh man. And so
yeah.
I changed that out, and I believe it or not, it was only a 24-hour turnaround, and all of a sudden it was, everything was working naturally again. And it's that being sick and not having a lot. I wasn't eating a lot, and then you're not drinking the proper type of water, and I went and got a little bit of electrolytes, to kind of throw into some of my water, especially if I'm doing any kind of sauna work.
Mm,
And it's yeah, that's been a huge help. So now is this the first time you've ever done 75 hard?
yeah. First time.
So so it looks like you're in pretty good shape as it is. So it looks like working out is something that's part of your DNA. Is that correct?
It's yeah, yeah. And again, it's kind of similar to how I started to really write to with the end goal of publishing. I started to take workouts a little more seriously about 3 years ago as well. Doing I did a lot of 5Ks and then brought it up to 10K, and then finally this year did my first half uh, marathon. Um, and I'm going in between either summer or fall um, full.
Oh, you're gonna try a full marathon.
I definitely want to do some a couple more halves so I can build that momentum.
Yeah.
Um, but and I also have one kidney, and
Oh.
I have one kidney because I donated the other one to my mother.
Ah. So, you have something in common with my father.
Okay.
My dad has one kidney and he lost a kidney due to cancer.
Oh,
And so they took that kidney out and then he was cancer free, but he's been living with one kidney now too. He's 80. How's my dad? My dad's 82 now, I think.
okay.
And so and still going strong. And
Mhm.
I guess you have to. I guess if you got something else new, I didn't know about you. So when people that don't know this though, even your diet had to change correct, with one kidney, correct? Because
Yes,
you can't have protein spikes or something to that effect, if I remember right what my dad's telling me.
and definitely no sweets or I love the sweets. That for me, that's been the hardest part because the water losing
I-
the sweets, man. I so because I have always been
is that part of what you gave up in your dieting, or is that something that you gave up of uh because of doing 75 hard like you're doing? Or is sweets part of it?
sweets. Well, sweets was definitely 75 hard related because I mean even before that, you always like the doctor said to me when I was saying I remember when I first told my students this, they said, "Hey, teacher, you know what? You know what that means? You're not going to be able to drink alcohol anymore." And so I'm like, well, I mean, this is still news to me. I'm just letting you guys know that I'm going to be away for a while because, and I was teaching when this happened. This was summer 7 years ago. This summer 7 years ago,
Wow.
and I
So
was teaching. Go
go
ahead.
ahead. You were teaching when you decided to do this for your mom.
I was still I was working for another school, and and uh and I hadn't told my classes that I'm going to be away for a while because I'm going to be in recovery, and so I couldn't teach for about a month or two. And so when I broke that down to them, and that's because they obviously had questions like, "Well, why aren't you going to teach us anymore?" and all that. And when I told them that I'm going to donate my kidney, they said, "Well, you know what that means? Like you can't drink anymore." And I was like, "Whoa,
What is
let, let me let me ask let me ask the doctor because I don't know." They're like, "No, teacher, you're definitely not going to be able to drink anymore." So when I popped that question, they said, "No, no, no." It's like, "Who said you can't drink anymore?" And I said, "Well, my concerned students." And I said, he said, "Oh no." Like he's like, "Listen, like we said to any patient, anything in moderation."
this? So
Uh,
did that was mom's kidneys failing? Is that why you chose to do that? Is that what was happening?
yeah, it was definitely failing. Um, she and what's interesting is that she got a her tonsils were infected when she there was a time when her tonsils got infected when she was pregnant with me,
Ah,
and that what stemmed from that is just this year long development of weak kidneys, even though she never really felt any discomfort or pain or anything from it. I mean, when you'd see my mom, you'd feel like she's as healthy, she's the healthiest woman I know. And for her doctor to tell her about 9 years ago, like Margarita, we have to do something because you're borderline kidney failure at this point, and
I
your only two options are either dialysis or transplant. And she
mm.
definitely did not want the dialysis option. It's like, we're gonna do transplant. And everybody in the family got tested, but the only person who was compatible to be her donor was me.
So is mom still with us today?
Mom's still with us today. Yep.
Wow, that's pretty awesome. That's an awesome story. Of course, I would do that for my mom too. Um, you know what I mean? So, has it really disrupted anything in life doing that or not?
No, no,
Mhm.
not at all.
Yeah. I
Um,
haven't really seen it do my dad. My dad kinda changed his diet around a little bit, he cut out a little bit, high protein meats and certain kind of, vegetables that he stays away from, but I'm sure that you're the same way, uh, doing that, you know what I mean? So, I've that's something you have in common with my pops, yeah, my dad has that one kidney. So,
mm,
while drinking water kinda sucks, I'm sure, with one kidney, right? I mean, geez Louise.
yeah,
I mean, I don't know. Even on 75 hard, I know I'm doing this podcast and I'm like, okay, I got to go to the bathroom before because I know right in the middle of it, I'm going to have to go again because it's freaking water.
Yeah.
and so I get it. And then you got sick. How did you feel when you had to put it down for a couple days because you just got sick? Were
I
you
was
like,
I was like,
was
"Here we go again." Like, oh, jeez. Like, and when I had to stop the first time, I was on day 23.
oh,
Because
you've had to stop twice now.
yes, yes,
Oh my goodness.
yes. And, the first time, just being absolutely honest with folks, like, it's not because I had one of those days where it's like, "This, like, challenge sucks, like, I'm not motivated today, I don't wanna do it." Nothing like that. But because you're constantly on the go, and I was on the road that day, I was like, I I really couldn't drink much water because I was driving for most of the day, and then Uh, when we made our stop, I tried to drink as much as I could, but obviously I'm not drinking the jug, so I'm not drinking as much water as I need. I hadn't done my exercises, so I was like, we had this really quick dinner with friends, and I'm like, guys, I gotta go. I have a challenge to finish. So I did the workouts back to back outside because I couldn't split them, right? Since you have to do 3 hours between.
Right.
So I did the workouts back to back outside, so an hour and a half. Uh, and I'm watching the clock, and I'm it's like it's creeping up on midnight, and I'm like trying to chug the water, watching my clock, take a break, chug some water again, watch the clock, chug some water, and
We have all been there, man.
next thing I know, it's like I've got maybe that much water
Mhm.
left. And Mark, I'm telling you, I felt like I could not drink another drop. I felt like my chest was gonna explode.
I've been so there. I've been in those same shoes, man, with that water.
Yeah,
I have learned that if I don't drink a good I try and drink a liter before I leave the house. It's
yep.
very easy to drink a half a liter when you first get up because you're
Oh,
so a
yes.
little bit dehydrated. And
That's
I'm
right.
like, I don't drink coffee or anything until I have that water. Once I have it, then I know. And I also know with my meals, I'm going to get a liter of water in with meals. I just make sure I have it. So in
Yeah.
my head, I'm like, okay, I just got to do these 2 liters. So we've all been down that road. Mine, I failed. I think it was day 37
Oh,
because I was reading the book
okay,
and I learned a very valuable lesson from this. I was reading the book and
okay.
fell asleep on page 5 in my bed. And
Oh,
so I didn't finish my reading by 5 pages. And I remember waking up in the morning going, oh man, you
oh,
fell asleep and you didn't finish it. And so I said to myself, I am not doing that again. See, my reading now, it happens outside for me. I am outside, whether it's rain, sleet, or snow. I read outside because it keeps me awake. I like to kind of do it at nighttime when I have the patio heater on and I have another the fire pit going, and then I can read the book and I'm not falling asleep out there. It's
mm,
outside. People are walking by with their dogs. And so I've learned that that's what I'm doing because I've failed. I've done 75 hard. This is either my fifth or sixth time. I don't remember
wow.
what time it is, but I only really did. Um, this will be the third one will be a complete, right? If I don't make a mistake here before, so I'm on day 53. So
You
we'll
got
see what happens. We'll see what happens with it, and all these, but all the stuff that from 75 hard. I listen. I was telling Jose about this too. I'm not really a big drinker anyway, and
okay.
so because of that, I to give up drinking wasn't a big deal with me. But I haven't had a drop in over 2 years of doing 75 hard. Those are
Wow.
one of those habits that I just never have. I live a keto lifestyle anyway. That's how I am. I measure my ketones on a daily to every other day basis to see if I'm maintaining low blood sugar and ketosis. And so those things were all easy for me. The working out, it can be a pain in the ass sometimes, when you got to go outside. It's not fun.
Well,
I like it in extreme weather. You guys, does Maryland get snow kind of like everybody else? Yes.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
uh,
See, we
yeah.
don't have. I don't have that element. So, but I would like it. I would like to have to be outside doing something in extreme weathers. I've done it in Georgia where it's extremely hot.
Mm,
And, when you're out there and you're baking and you're knowing in your head that there's hardly anybody else that I know that's doing what I'm doing right now, that kind of gets me all kind of jacked up, in my head. So that's always kind of a fun thing as far as what goes on with 75 hard. We've all been there, what you're talking about, the back-to-back workouts and getting up and saying, "Man, I got a 30-minute walk," and the head games that go with it, because you're like,
oh goodness.
everybody has head games because everybody's like, "Are they really gonna know? Are they really gonna know?" And then, they may not know, but,
Hmm.
you're gonna know, and then that every time that happens to me, those negative thoughts, it reminds me of God looking down at us and goes, "Character is who you are when nobody else is watching, bro, but
Oh my
I'm watching."
goodness.
So, uh, you know what I mean? So it's
Yeah,
always kind of been as yeah, that
yeah.
constant, uh, Jiminy Cricket on your shoulder, telling you, your conscience telling you, "Hey,
Mm,
if you're not gonna do it, just don't do it, but if you're gonna say you're gonna do it, you better do it, and get
and
it done." So
that's
I
why I
see I see you're back on day 1 now. Is that where you're at?
back to day one. And that's the thing, man. That's like you're either all in or you're not. There's no gray area. I'm like, who's gonna know that I didn't finish the water, but I
Yeah.
said I did, so I'm gonna upload and say, all right, challenge done. When I had like 6 minutes
This
fucking water
but
left.
you know what? The story is better now than finishing it, right? Because now you're
Yep,
like, "I had this much and I freaking blew it," right? I
yep,
just couldn't drink anymore.
yep.
And then you're gonna reach other people going, "Man, I've been in those shoes. I know
Mm,
exactly what you're talking about. I'm glad I'm not the only one." So,
yes,
the stories of failure happen to always outdo the stories of success.
yes, absolutely.
Success is a bunch of failures all lumped into one anyway. So that's how I feel about that. But that's good, man. So we'll be rooting for you out there.
Thank you.
Once I did 75
Likewise.
hard and then I did number 2,
Hmm.
when you had to those are when you have to add the showers in, right? The cold showers.
Oh man,
And
yeah.
in if you're not used to that at first, man, that was a little bit daunting, right? I was like, "Oh, man." Now believe it or not, after going through phase 2, cold showers is part of something I do every day now.
Absolutely.
I take a shower and, I clean myself and do all the kind of stuff that you need to do, and then bam, I tell everybody, uh, Tears for Fears song, Everybody Wants to Rule the World,
Uh-huh.
is almost a 5-minute song, right? So,
Mm,
it's about 15 seconds short, and so I play that song in the shower
yep,
on Alexa play, and I know when that song is done, my
yep.
5-minute cold shower is done. And
5 minutes.
it was much easier to get through it because it's a song and you're kind of singing through it and you know the song, and so yeah, that's just kind of part of my routine now. So it's been fun, but we get you now. I'll tell you what now, if I'll be watching your process, and
Yeah.
once you get through it, I'll get online and I'll send you the 75 pen. I do this for a lot of people that I talk to and go through it. They have a little pen that you can put on your
Okay.
lapel or whatever that says 75 hard.
I love
My second one, I know you haven't seen it on my back unless you go watch the post, but I got a big tattoo
it.
of the
Okay.
skull 75 hard on my back after I
Okay.
did number 2 and went through it. So
Did you
yeah, that's
post it
how
to the group? I think I saw it.
yeah, I may have posted it in
Yeah, yeah,
75
yeah,
hard finishers. Yeah, I did do
yeah.
that. So, yeah, that was fun. So, we're starting to wind down a little bit. You named a couple things else that you do that I want to hit about. You said you were a poet and an educator, and then you said photographer. And
Mm,
so that spikes my interest because I'm a pretty intense alpha A type dude, right?
mm,
And I told my girl, I said, I've got to find something that's a little more mellow.
Mm.
that I can enjoy. And believe it or not, photography is something that came up. Now, my
Okay.
sister is an avid photographer, and my father, as a matter of fact, was an avid photographer even when he was young. So when I was growing up, he had a dark room in the garage, and he
Nice.
taught me back and then how to do your own. I mean, you remember that? I don't know if you got to experience a dark room, and
No.
you didn't get to experience that. So I remember, putting the black and white film in there, and you expose the the film, and then you got that, and then you put it into that, and then you put it on the paper, and you put it in the water, and you have all that. And we still have black and white photography that my father did
Oh,
back in the 50s, right? And
mm.
so this photography has been something that has kind of mellowed my head a little bit. It's something that I have found it's almost I would say that photography and poetic stuff is almost hand in hand, because a
Oh, yeah.
good photo tells an extreme story. Do
Yes.
you find that to be true?
That is absolutely true. It is worth 1,000 words, as they say.
Yeah. What's your photography that you like? What do you like doing? Is it landscaping? Is it people? What is it you like?
I like landscaping and people, especially portrait photography, because I've done a few engagements, birthdays, uh, milestone birthdays. Um, but then I love landscaping too because I love hiking. And if I'm going to a place that I haven't hiked at before, then I definitely love to bring the camera with me.
So, and now, do you do uh do you have a digital camera that you like to use? Do you do any iPhone or camera work with your phone? Do you do that both type of photography?
Hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
I got a good old iPhone
Uh-huh.
13, I believe.
Yeah,
Is that-
is it amazing? I have the iPhone too, and I do a lot of photo work with that, and I'm really into the editing portion of things because you get to get so creative with things and what
Oh
you
yes.
can do to a photograph that's kind of jacked up. I did this one of my own. You kind of see me on a cowboy hat, but that was somebody giving that to me on my birthday, and I'm kind of putting it on. And I said, "Wow, I like the shot," but there was stuff in it, and I had to go in Photoshop and take lines out and do all this stuff, and then do it. But what you can envision and
Mm,
then see what your editing process can be is just phenomenal. And
it's phenomenal. Oh yeah.
I've really, really enjoyed the photography, and I do like taking uh, people's photographs too. And when
Hmm.
we go to Georgia, when especially I go there quite often, and so Savannah is such a whether you're in old cemeteries or downtown Savannah or whatever, some of the restaurants there that are icons. I have started something with my photography is what I do now. If I go to these towns that I go to all the time and I'm taking pictures, then I go edit them. And the next time I go, I bring them to them. And I said, "Hey, I'm a photographer. I photographed your thing. I have it in a frame." And so now I've got my photos in all kinds of places
Nice.
down there because they all hang them up. I get them already framed and ready to go. There's a small, awesome little coffee shop that I did in Savannah. There's Clary's, it's called, which is a real famous, just a cafe, man, just a mom and pop cafe in Savannah.
Yep.
And my girl too, I'm going in May, so I'm doing her photos next. That she's taken of some of these bars that are on River Street on the Savannah River,
Mhm.
and this is what we've done with our photos now. Now our photos are out there for everybody to see. And so every time we go into town, we look. So I always looking for that. So that caught my ear when you said you're a photographer. And I like the phone photography. I guess
Oh yeah.
because it's just so easy and it's right there. And if you can envision the photos and then, using all there's so many apps to make your photos look awesome,
Yeah. You
and then they still have a good resolution, right? So you can
absolutely.
I've got a beautiful, sunset from San Diego in my
Mhm.
home off an iPhone. Every time I look at it, I'm like, I cannot believe that a telephone took that picture. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just I you know, it's amazing. It's not pixelated. It's nothing off this little iPhone. So
Yep.
where do you do it as a business, or is it pretty much a hobby, or do you use it as a business also?
A little bit of both. Mainly hobby for me when I go um, hiking.
When you
But
uh-huh. Do you bring your camera hiking, or do you have your phone is what you use mostly?
depends on the hike. Um, if it's one of those like kind of mountain kind of hikes, I may or may not bring it with me because carrying that thing is probably going to tire me out.
Yeah, that's the
Well,
only problem with carrying the big camera, right? It's like, man, and you know what? I don't know if you find this as well much as I do, but sometimes when I'm taking the pictures with the camera is a tricky thing to get a really good shot.
it
Where the
is.
phone takes a lot of the mistakes out, you know what I mean? The iPhone
Yes,
takes a lot of the mistakes out, so it's a lot nicer, but
it's a lot
uh
nicer.
yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know. So I look well, I'll tell you what, man, we'll when I don't know, are you doing any book launching in that January or not? Yours is in June. You're not really doing that
I
book.
won't, but I'll be there.
Oh, you're gonna be there.
I'll
Okay.
be there. Oh yeah, I got a DJ that thing.
Oh, you're gonna be DJing. That's right. That's the other thing that you said you like to do is DJ.
Yes, yes.
Okay, well, I look forward to
Yeah.
that because I'm gonna be there, man. I'm looking forward to meeting everybody.
Oh, that'd be
Um,
awesome.
I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring my mics,
Okay,
and I'm gonna tell you that, like Jose and Emilio, yourself, everybody that I've kind of done these podcasts with, I've got this. Zoom makes this, not Zoom on here, but it's called it's for podcasting and video. But we can put up 6 mics on this thing, and we can all sit around a table, and we can all converse, and we can make a
okay.
podcast right out of it, right then and there at that
Oh,
location. So I'm gonna bring all my mics. It's a really easy setup, and we're gonna
okay.
sit around, and, Jose probably won't be on 75 hard, so he'll probably be having whiskey or whatever he's drinking, and, we'll see what everybody talks about, as a group, and I look forward to that. So that's definitely gonna happen. We'll make sure that everybody has that ready to rock and roll. So,
I'll tell you what I miss. If I don't think I'll be on 75 hard at that point, but I'll tell you what drink I really do miss. And I miss a good old fashioned.
okay.
Yeah,
That's what you miss the most? You know,
yeah,
it's funny, I like guys that like to casually drink, they do miss that, for sure, that comes in. I mean, I'd have a whiskey here and there, you know what I mean? You know, as a I could have a whiskey with those big round ices, and I could sit and sip that
yep,
thing for 2 hours, you know what I mean?
oh yeah,
And
yep.
it was never a big deal, but I don't know, I guess that's just one of those things that I haven't, doesn't mean we won't do that on the podcast. We can all sit around and enjoy that, that's for sure, because, in an hour in, our conversation will be a whole lot different, I can tell you that. Uh,
That's right,
so so that would be a fun time, but
for sure.
all right, I just wanna recap real quick, man, so we're rolling up on the hour, I don't wanna be respectful of your time, but, so you got your book coming out, it's gonna
Yep,
be coming out in June, you said, that's kinda your launch date. You're gonna
yep.
have, what are you gonna have? You're gonna have when's your pre-launch happening? Is your cover
Pre-launch
done?
look, covers. I'm gonna be getting the cover this week.
Uh-huh.
So once I get that cover, look for the pre-sale date,
L
and book should be ready in June.
Alright, well, we're gonna put it out there, Raul. We're gonna be pushing that book, and I think, like what we said before, let's get your book out there. Let's
Absolutely.
get your book out there for, 30 days, and let's revisit it in 30 days while it's out and about, and we'll do another push 30 days, and we'll go live, and we'll get Connected Leadership to have us live, talking on there, and then, we'll continue pushing, and we'll look forward to seeing what comes about. Does that sound good?
That sounds awesome, man.
Yeah.
And I hope you like the Rocky poem. I hope you like all the poems. I mean,
Yes. Well, I'm gonna enjoy it, man. It's awesome, and I'm gonna bring my. I'm gonna order that book. I'm gonna pre-order that book. So I don't know if you're gonna be autographing them, but
oh, absolutely.
we will be taking. I'll be bringing it with me, and we will be taking pictures together
I love it.
about what that looks like, because I should be an author, an author by then. I should have it when we see each other. Mine should be ready to rock and roll.
Oh, I can't wait to
And
read it,
so
man.
it's gonna be it'll be fun. It'll be real fun.
Yep.
So this is a great hour, Raul. Man, I'm glad I got to know you a little bit. I'm glad I like all the stuff that you're bringing to the table, and we'll keep pushing your dream of getting your book out there, and I look forward to having another. Well, we're going to do this again in the summer, where you and I are going to come on, and let's break down your book a little bit. We'll read the Rocky poem,
Oh yeah.
okay, for sure. That's something we like in common. And
Yep.
then we'll talk about by that time I've read it, and then I can say, okay, this is the one that really hit me. What was your thought process and doing this? And so I
Mm.
look forward. That's going to be fun. That's going to be a fun breakdown of your book. I mean, how fun a podcast is that? So I want you to really think about. I want you to
Yep.
think about that for yourself as far as an author's podcast. And I'll be glad to hop in there with you and tell you, what equipment I have and what looks good and stuff like that. And because I'm not this big, I'm not Joe Rogan by any means, but I certainly have enjoyed doing this process. And I think that you have something. I think you have a built-in audience. If I'm so troubled with times that I could never get it off the ground doing that by myself. I'm just about to launch another podcast called. We're either calling it Beyond the Belt or Beyond the Mat, which is my book, and
Okay.
I'm gonna co-host this one with a combat vet, and him and
Okay.
I are gonna do just what you're talking about. We're gonna kind of get some books, and we're gonna break down leadership and do different things like that. But we're gonna be doing that together. So we'll get you on and we'll see where it goes, man. I look forward to it. Bestseller coming up. That's what I think.
Bestseller, man. Yep.
That's right.
Bestseller book and top what do you call these top ranked podcast. There
That's right. That's correct.
you
Now
go.
you think about that. So I'll be there, man. You know how to get a hold of me, Raul. And if you want to
Yes.
have another chat, and really talk about, hey, I really think I want to do this. I'll help give you some pointers and give you some directions that I think, as somebody that's in the process new, what I'd like to hear and listen, and then somebody that can write what you can bring to the table, and I think I'll help collaborate that with you. Sound good?
Absolutely, man. This
All
this is
right.
this is our year.
All right.
This is
Sounds
our
good,
year, bro.
Raul, man. I had a good time with you. We're gonna hit.
Likewise.
We'll have you go enjoy the rest of your day, and I look forward to our next chat.
You as well, my friend.
Yes, sir. Bye bye.
Bye bye.